Thank you, and good evening. Recently, I was walking down memory lane, and I didn't realize that memory lane was a boulevard until I got to 1950-something. Of course, I was so young, I really didn't know what was going on. However, I do remember that the first man walked on the moon, and it was indeed a man, in case you think I have political correct problems. He walked on the moon, and I used to think, how did that man get up there? You know, at that point, we didn't have cable TVs and the kinds of media that we have today. All I knew is somehow this man got on the moon, and he was in the news. We didn't see the actual walk, but we saw the newspapers. And I remember in school, the teachers asking us, or telling us rather, about the man walking on the moon. And then I started thinking, even as a young child, what will my contribution to life be? This was in the 50s. And then as I walked into the 60s, there was civil unrest. Somebody actually killed the President of the United States. President Kennedy lost his life during my lifetime. And then I thought he was infallible. And then civil rights. The president had to tell us all that people had the same rights, that we were all people, and that we had some contribution to humankind. So I was still thinking, what is my contribution? And then I met in the latter 60s when there was Woodstock. I met my best friend. I didn't like her when I first met her. Couldn't stand her. She was everything I wasn't, but she was everything I really wished I was. I didn't learn this till later. When Woodstock was a big thing, I really wished I was there, but I was still under my parents' thumb. My best friend's name was Pam. And one day we worked together, and I didn't have a ride home. And I was sitting on the steps waiting for my mother to come and get me, and Pam says, "I'll take you home." And I thought, she just offered to take me home. I wonder if she likes me. And I don't even know how we did it, but as we were riding home together, we laughed like there was no tomorrow. Pam was white, and I'm still. But she never saw it as such. And I think neither did I, but I saw the difference in the way she reacted to things and people, and the way I reacted to things and people. If she didn't like something her parents said, she told them. I would be looking at a 3-day coma if I told mine what I was thinking. So that was another part of her that I really wanted to be. And then we grew even closer. I would spend the night at her house, and her mother made the first blueberry muffins that I had ever had. My mother made cakes and pies and things all the time, but she never made blueberry muffins. And Pam's mother started making blueberry muffins every time I spent the night. And then she spent the night at my house, but my mother didn't make anything different than she'd always had. She'd always had pancakes and biscuits and bacon and eggs and sausage and grits and oatmeal. If Pam didn't like it, she just said, "I don't like that," but she ate whatever else was there. We were inseparable. And then we married. Different men, of course. And that started our lives going in a different direction, but certainly not the friendship, the love of our friendship. We kept that. That was solid. No matter what I accomplished, Pam was always happy for me. I was always happy that she was happy because she didn't really care if she accomplished anything or not. She wanted to marry, she married. She wanted kids, she had kids. Society was such that it expected me to have several kids. And it expected her to not have several kids. So I had 2 and she had 7. And as life evolved, my marriage disintegrated sooner than hers because my first child had a disability. And believe it or not, Pam's first child had a disability. My son's disability was far more severe than hers. Her son could manage to work his way into society and become somewhat camouflaged with the rest of us. And then I wrote my first book. Pam called. Oh, she was so happy. She called, and then her husband went to Iceland, and she wanted me to come to Iceland to see her. I didn't get to go to Iceland. But when she came back to the States, she brought me gifts. She was always thinking of me and I of her. I was a bit jealous of her travels, but I was happy for her. One of us needed to, and I could always count on some kind of gift that she would bring me back. And then as my marriage disintegrated, my kids were grown up, I needed to have something that I had contributed to life in a way that I could feel good, and life could feel good because I was born and someday I'll die. So at 55, I decided to go back to school. I always wanted my degree. I just had this hunger, but my dad was a bit aloof here. He thought women just ought to get a husband, have kids, and you're done. Well, I wasn't done. I had only just begun. So I went back at 55 years old, and thank you. And I got my bachelor's degree. And I felt a different hunger. I took a year hiatus, but I was still hungry for something that I was yet to contribute to life. I felt like I was driving without a driver's license. I made these contributions, and I lived life a bit backwards because I taught in different colleges ad hoc before I ever received a degree at all. And it was nice, but it wasn't enough. I wanted legitimacy. So I went back, and I got my master's. And I got my master's in psychology. After I got the bachelor's, I called Pam up, and Pam, look what I did. And she was so happy. When I published my first book, Pam was enthusiastic. She had the kind of excitement that I wish my family had. She was more like a sister than my sisters. But that was okay, because Pam was my friend, and she was always a part of my life. And then I got my master's, and I couldn't wait to find Pam. But her marriage had disintegrated, and she went to live with one of her kids, and that changed, and she just felt kind of a bit lost in the world, because her 7 kids had now become lawyers, doctors, nurses, and people who were still searching for their lives. But that was something to be very proud of. And I called her. I couldn't find her. So I called her sister. And I said, "Where's Pam?" And she said, "Well, she's wherever." And then I said, "Well, where does she live? Come on, tell me, give me her number." She said, "Well, I don't have her number right now." She was hiding something. After I received my master's degree, Pam felt inadequate. She felt that she had lost something within herself. And she said that I was too highfalutin for her, that she no longer wanted to be my friend. I said, "Oh, no, you have lost your mind." I got a little attitude then. I got in my car and I drove to Albuquerque, and I got her address, and I beat on this door. I don't even know if it was her house or not, but I was beating on this. "You open this door." Nobody opened the door. I didn't see Pam anymore. she didn't want to see me anymore because she felt she didn't measure up. I never understood that, and I do feel the loss. But I'll always have my love for my dear sister friend who followed me through thick and thin and who stood by me through so many things. I will respect that she has chosen her own life now, and I will respect that I have created another life for myself. But that too becomes a part of the tracks down memory lane for me.